Good evening, everybody, and you're very welcome along to our webinar this evening with a focus on our Bachelor of Science in Nutrition, Food and Business Management honours degree here at ATU St Angela's. My name is Sean Kelly. I'm one of the ATU School Liaison Officers, and I will be your host for this evening's event. Just some housekeeping before we begin. If you have any questions or queries throughout this webinar, do feel free to pop them into our Q&A section of tonight's platform, and our team will be happy to answer them there. And if we have time at the end of the session, we can jump back into that Q&A section and be able to answer and respond to any questions that come in. So the event is being recorded, so you'll be able to watch it back, and those who couldn't make it tonight will be able to watch it back. We're going to share it on our socials over the next couple of days. Joining me for tonight's session is Joint Programme Director for the BSc, Roisin Lydon, current student Helen Walsh, graduates Emer Connolly, Sinead Conway, and Claire Finnegan. So we're going to get some great insights from this degree, as well as the experiences of those now in the industry in that food sector. So without further delay, and if everyone's comfortable and well set up for the evening, we might go to yourself, Roisin, first. So as Joint Programme Director, you might give us an overview of the modules and the components of this BSc honours degree.
Sure. So this is a 4-year undergraduate programme accredited by ATU Sligo. It combines a unique blend of 3 key areas, food science, nutrition and business management across all 4 years of the programme, which sets it apart from other courses really, I suppose, that other courses might focus solely on food science or nutrition or business studies. So it offers students an attractive blend of all 3 areas in one programme. So starting off in first year, students would study basic nutrition, food preparation and culinary skills, and they build on that then through years 2, 3 and 4. So they look at advanced culinary skills, nutrition through the life cycle, and in years 3 and 4, they would look at innovations in food processing and preservation and new food product development. And then in terms of the business side of things, they would start off in first year looking at business management, consumer behaviour, and then go on and look at financial accounting, strategic management and auditing. And then again in the more latter years, they would look at enterprise, innovation and entrepreneurship as well.
Great. So are there a lot of practical elements then by the sounds of those?
So there's a great balance, I suppose, between practical and theory classes, which students really enjoy. And that's always feedback we get from our students. So in any given week, students would have a food practical in the food labs and a science practical in the science labs. And the theory in the lectures would very much support and build on the practicals that are being carried out in those science laboratories and the food laboratories as well.
Okay, now speaking of science, is there a heavy science component to this?
So I suppose there is, yes, there are science modules in this programme, but having said that, that is the case with any course that is based around food and nutrition, because science is fundamental to understanding nutrition and the role it plays in our diet and health. However, we always say it's something that our students shouldn't be worried about, because we start at the very beginning in year 1, and we look at the basic introduction to science. Assuming that nobody has done science, we bring everybody up from year 1, and it's built on as the course progresses.
Yeah, and you're right, and students shouldn't be too concerned with that point, because we don't require science as a subject for entry requirements.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that really shows that we're starting with those fundamentals for everybody.
Yeah.
And then placement, can you describe the placement, talk a little bit about that industrial placement for students?
Sure. So that's a key component of the programme, and students really enjoy that aspect of getting out into the food industry and being given the opportunity to apply all of their knowledge to a practical setting. So in the 3rd year of the programme, semester 2, we have a 20-week industrial placement. So we have a dedicated placement coordinator on the programme who helps students to first of all decide on a placement. So students typically decide where they go themselves, and that is usually a food or beverage company in Ireland. However, some choose to go abroad and partake in the Erasmus programme. But if the students are having difficulty with sourcing a placement or finding one, that's when our placement coordinator steps in and will assist in that process. But it's very much an enjoyable experience for students. They get great first-hand knowledge and experience of what it's like to work in the real world. And I'm really excited to hear from some of our graduates this evening in relation to that.
And of course, our list of food companies is growing all the time because our students are reaching out to more and more companies. So they're kind of paving the way for our future students, and it's certainly,
Absolutely.
a point of contact, I suppose, when it comes to that placement. But by
Absolutely.
third year, you're well settled into the course, so students, I imagine, would have a good idea of the avenue they want to take and the type of organization and business they want to go into for that placement. Are placements paid is a question I often get asked.
The majority of the time they are shown, because when our students go into an organization or a company, they're seen as an employee and they carry out a lot of the same duties as staff in the organization. So companies will often pay students for their placement, or they may even contribute travel and subsistence on top of that. But that's very much negotiated between the student and the placement company.
Brilliant. So case by case basis, but in general, there is
in general, yes.
And other perks maybe. That's brilliant, Roisin. Some students approach me at times and would contact us where they have a particular interest in nutrition. And particularly the nutritional elements of this program might appeal to them. And they often ask, is there a pathway to progress down that particular field from this degree?
So that is something that we find our students are very interested in, is the food and nutrition and health aspects of the program. So we have had graduates go on to study courses like public health nutrition, nutrition and health coaching in the past. And sometimes when they're working for their company or their organization for a few years, the company will actually pay for that program or that course that they go on to complete, because it will come back to the company in terms of enabling the student or the graduate to apply their learning or their knowledge to their job or their role. So, but absolutely, there are progression possibilities for nutrition. Yeah.
And healthy eating and nutrition they're such hot topics. We're all interested in the food that we're eating, what's made up of in these foods.
Absolutely.
So that's really great. And then the type of jobs, can you give us examples of the jobs that our graduates are going into? And I know we're going to speak to 3 great examples tonight, but there's such a wide range of roles from this degree. So if you could give us a snapshot of those roles and the types of roles that our graduates are in.
Sure. So many of our graduates, or the majority, would go into food or beverage organisations, and they can be anything from small SMEs in Ireland to large multinational companies such as Glanbia, Kerry, Danone, Flavins, Boyne Valley, to name a few. Other graduates go on to work for food-related organisations such as Board Bia, the Food Safety Authority of Ireland, Bordi Skiwara, Safe Food, and IFAC. And what we find is, and we've done a recent survey of our graduates, is that 60% of our graduates to date are either in junior management, middle management, or senior management in companies and organisations that they're working in, which is fantastic. Starting salaries for graduates are anything from 30,000 excluding bonuses and up, and this can rise to 60k plus depending on your role and depending on your progression pathway through your career in the food industry. But there is so many options and possibilities for career progression in the food industry.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, well, that's a good kind of a snapshot from that academic side and from that program side. So we might jump across to a current student who is in the program at the moment, a final year student. Helen Watt is with us this evening, so thanks for joining us, Helen. Can you transport yourself back and tell us why you chose this degree with ATU?
So I chose this degree because I've always had a really strong interest in nutrition and food. Like home economics was my favorite subject in school, so I always knew that I wanted to do it in like further education. So I was always interested in doing something. So I was having a look on the St. Angela's website, looking at the home economics courses. and I stumbled across this one that I'd never actually heard of before, but I just read into it and I thought it was so interesting that I had all of the elements, nutrition, food, and business. Like, you don't see that anywhere. So I thought it was really interesting, and it brought you into so many different workplaces, because just doing home ec teaching, I feel like you would get stuck doing something like that, but this, like, go into any sort of food industry or into any sort of food business, and there's lots of different opportunities that can come from doing this course. So I thought it was really interesting, and I thought like it was perfect for me, just because I wasn't yet certain what I wanted to do, but I knew I had to do with something with food.
Yeah, so it sounds like the passion for food was there first and foremost.
Yeah.
And you're right, you can be kind of limited when it comes to your university choices. And if it's not that home economics teaching that you mentioned, well, then a food specific program like this, I suppose, that you could delve into.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
and then as the fourth year, has there been a particular highlight over the last 4 years for you?
I really enjoyed doing the industrial work placement in third year, because I think it really gives all students like a good feel for what you'll be doing after you graduate. And it's a 20-week work placement, which I think is really beneficial, because you get to be trained in, and then you get to actually work on your own. So you develop your own confidence and independence within the workplace, and you actually are able to conduct daily tasks that you can actually do on your own, and not have to be, told what to do, because you're fully trained in. And I think the 20 weeks gives you a really good length of time to do stuff in the industry, and you get to go to different areas. For example, you can, help out this place one day and a different place the other day. You kind of just get a real feel for the whole thing, and you get to kind of see what goes on in the food industry behind the scenes.
Yeah, and I think placement is such, Roisin described it already as an integral part, and all of the programs that we offer at St. Angela's have placements embedded into them, and this is no different. And it is such a benefit to you as a student. You're getting an insight into the sector that you're going to be working in eventually. And it is a good stint of a placement. You're right. It's not just in for a few weeks and gone again. You have all of semester two, if I'm not mistaken, from that third year where you're out on that industrial placement. So it is a good stint to settle in and find your bearings and get to know people. And Roisin might be able to pick up on this later, or correct me if I'm wrong, but don't a lot of students end up back in their placement companies? Yeah, she's nodding at me, so yeah. So that's brilliant, Helen. Thank you. Now, a module called New Product Development, or NPD for short. Helen, can you give us your kind of perspective of that NPD module? Because I know it's such an important one for the food sector, but it's such an important learning module for yourself. So in your own words, can you explain in a little more detail what the NPD module is about?
Yeah, so the new product development module is when all students get to pick their own idea. It's fully creative, fully broad. You can decide to make anything you want in the world, and you get to go to the food labs and start at the very first step and develop your own food product. And obviously, it takes a lot of trial and error in the labs and a lot of work, but it's really interesting because you get to experiment so much with different ingredients, different methods, and everything. And you finally get to a final place at the end where something you've made is actually finally packaged. You get to decide on your whole color scheme, packaging, everything. It's really, really interesting module. It's actually my favorite module over the four years. I just thought it was so interesting that we were actually making a product that could potentially be on the shelves in a few years if we really wanted to push it forward. I just thought that's really beneficial module to have in the course, because it is something that we can go into in the working industry.
Yeah, and when you think about it, all food companies out there have to be constantly on the ball, constantly innovating and enhancing or creating new food products in some cases. So NPD is a huge area, I know, for our graduates, and we might touch on that with the ladies in a few minutes. What you haven't mentioned very humbly is that you won this year's NPD Showcase Award. So you might just give us in a few words what product you decided to create for your NPD Showcase.
Yeah. So for my industrial work placement, I worked in Mead Farm in County Meath, and they're the only company in Ireland that produce potato starch. So because I was in that company for placement, I just thought it would be really interesting to try and use their product in my new product for final year. So I had a few ideas, but I finally got to an idea where I was going to make ice cream mochi, which is traditionally Japanese ice cream wrapped in a chewy exterior coating, and it's made with rice flour. But I opted out the rice flour for potato starch, and it took a lot of trial and error, but I finally did get something similar consistency to the traditional Japanese mochi, which it took a lot of time, but I was very happy where it came to in the end. And I won the best overall product, and I thought it finally came to be something that I was happy with. And it took a lot, but it was really, really fun as well at the same time.
Yeah, and so you should be happy. You brought that from concept to trialing it. And as you said, there's a few trials. You won't get it right the first time, but that's what the food lab is there for, and the science lab is there for. And then you got to package and put it together. And I saw the prototype that day as well. So congratulations on that. It's not a bad platform to kick off your career, having that under your belt. So then finally, then the last question to yourself, Helen, as a current fourth year student, do you know yet what area you would like to progress into in the food sector or in the food industry?
I would definitely like to progress into new product development, and I actually have secured a job for when I finished up with college, which so that just shows that there's so much opportunity to have a job secured right when you're finished. So I actually got a job in new product development in Lear Chocolates. So that's something to look forward to for this as soon as I finish up in May.
Absolutely, and it's another testament to the 100% employment that we have for
Yeah.
graduates when they complete this degree. They're all going into the sector. They're all going into that job, and technically, you haven't even graduated yet. So that's great for you to look forward to that. Thank you for all that, Helen. We'll jump across now to our graduates, and we start with Emer Connolly. So thanks for logging in this evening, Emer. You might tell us a little bit about your current role in the sector, where you are and what role you're currently doing.
Yeah, of course. So yeah, my name is Emer Conley. I work in a company who produce private label beverages and food supplements. The company is called Future Nutrition. So we manufacture and develop products for global brands in the sports nutrition, health and wellness, retail, and pharmacy space. So the majority of our business is exporting to other regions. So we make products for these large global brands. My role specifically is head of technical and innovation. So I head up the new product development and the quality departments. So I began in the company as new product development manager, but over time just progressed to head up the two departments. And I suppose it's just a testament to this course that it would have been able to provide me with a lot of the fundamentals that help to cover the role. So both departments, realistically, the fundamentals are covered within this course.
Okay, so there's NPD rearing its head again.
Yeah.
And you've kind of touched on the next question already. Like, do you feel that the program that you did with us for a student who wishes to pursue, do you think it's valuable, the learning that they'll gain if they were to pursue this course?
Yeah, no, I definitely feel it's a course that's really valuable. Like, to be honest, in the position that I'm at the moment, I do quite a lot of recruitment. So our company has grown significantly over the last few years. So one specific benefit to this course I see versus other courses is that students have both the scientific and technical skills, but they also have the business and the commercial skills. So that's vital in the industry for employees, that even if they're working in the quality and NPD departments, that they have a commercial understanding. Because at the end of the day in industry, it is about, the bottom line and stuff too. So it's just very important. And I just know from doing interviews for people in other courses, the skills don't generally come as a pair, so that's quite unique to this course, and I suppose it's the biggest benefit that I see. And the other side is, I suppose the guys touched on it as well, the course does provide a lot of practical skills necessary. So again, I just find that this isn't seen in other courses, and it's not seen in graduates from other courses that I suppose that I've dealt with before. So it's it's a real big benefit.
Yeah, there's your balance of your practical coming in again, the balance of practical and theory. And Emer, looking back on the degree then, your time with us, is there anything that stands out for you in particular?
Yeah, I suppose personally, I think the mix of modules is really hugely beneficial during my time in the program. I found it hugely beneficial that some of the lecturers actually have industry experience as well. I find that just gives more than just the textbook element. You get the practical of what actually happens in companies. And I suppose it just makes the learnings that more practical again. The other side again would be the industrial placement that I undertook. It was a really good opportunity to figure out what area I wanted to go down, whether it was new product development, quality. So I was lucky enough to get into a placement that I kind of was able to touch on all the different areas, and I suppose then I could choose kind of what I wanted to focus on specifically. During my placement, then I did new product development is probably where I spent most of my time. And during that, I suppose I got the opportunity to work on new products. And during that time, I mean, we got the opportunity to actually enter products for Blossom Heron, and in third year then we ended up winning an award, which is a great, I suppose, boost of confidence for myself to go into fourth year of college deciding that, okay, this is the path that I want to go down. And yeah, from there it's a really beneficial course from that side.
Great. Thanks so much for that, Emer. And we go to Sinead Conway next. Thanks for joining us, Sinead. So you might share with us a little bit about where you're working at the moment and your own role.
Yeah, of course, Sean. My name is Sinead. I work for Musgraves. So I'm sure most people know Musgraves. And they also own Centra, SuperValue, Daybreak, those sort of retail. I work on the wholesale side of things on the trading team. So I work with the extended range team, which is our online exclusive marketplace. So I kind of work in the digital e-commerce space. So the job is very varied. I do a lot of trading, pricing negotiations, supplier recruitment, product onboarding. It's very quick and exciting. It's very trend focused. We try to keep up with the trends. Like, we had the Dubai chocolate on and off, that kind of thing. So yeah, it's very enjoyable. And that's it really. Yeah.
Great. Yeah, and it doesn't get boring by the sounds of it, like in the food sector, because of
No.
trends and because of dietary restrictions and because of healthy foods and buzzwords. It is that constantly
Of course.
changing and evolving. I've yet to taste the Dubai chocolate, so it better be up to the hype.
I'll send you down a few samples.
Oh, that's brilliant. Thank you very much. What advice would you give to someone who might be on the fence about this degree, or someone who might be considering, or even your younger self? What advice would you give to someone considering this
because
degree?
When I look back at 17-year-old me, I was a bit on the fence. I'm from Wicklow, so I suppose I was moving to the other side of the country when I was debating going to this course. But like Helen, like my favorite subjects were home ec and science, biology, and I knew I would eventually want to work in the food industry, but I didn't know what element. So I suppose if this is any interest to you at all, I would say go for it, because you're not tying yourself down. I mean, even looking at the panel today, we're also varied in different roles. I have friends who are working in Australia and Canada in completely different roles to me, but we did the course together. So I think go for it, if that's my advice.
Okay, keep an open mind. Brilliant.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you for that, Sinead. And last but not least, Claire Finnegan. You might give us your own experience and your career path, I suppose, since you left St. Angela's.
Yeah, sure. So when I finished up or throughout kind of my undergraduate degree at St. Angela's, I was also kind of dabbling in sports analytics. So when it came to the end of the program, I kind of wanted to find a career that balanced maybe the bits I really enjoyed about the course from a nutrition perspective and from a research perspective with those kind of analytical skills that I had developed in my part-time role. So I found myself heading off to London. I moved to London directly after the program to work with Mintel, who are a market research agency. They specialize oftentimes in food and drink trends. So much like Sinead, equally was focused on trends, what's emerging, how are consumers feeling, and how is that impacting their food and drink purchasing habits or their buying habits. So yeah, it was a really enjoyable experience, and I spent a couple of years working with Mintel before I moved back home to Ireland. So I'm currently pursuing a master's degree in partnership with Board BIA in Insights and Innovation. So very much still focusing on the kind of market research side of things. And then as part of that, I am working with the market research and insight team at Tirlán. So continuing, I suppose, on that trend of getting to put research and theory and academics into practice, which is something that I think, I suppose my appreciation was founded kind of with the undergraduate program, in nutrition, food and business, as the girls have mentioned already. It's so practically applied, and I don't think I would have returned to a master's program only for the fact that it was going to be applied also. So that definitely was established early on for me, from an academic perspective.
Okay, so the foundation was there. And are you studying part-time now, Claire?
Yeah, so juggling both working and studying part-time, which is complex and it's busy, but it's also enjoyable and it's nice. I suppose there's stuff where I feel, wow, I've already kind of done this at undergraduate level, and like kind of what Emer has already touched on, I suppose we're incredibly lucky at undergraduate level. We would have touched on such a variety of topics and subjects that you don't always get in your traditional food science degree or a global marketing degree. So to get something that's so well rounded, like I'm now at master's level and still I'm covering topics that I might have already touched on at undergraduate level, which is a really nice thing. And equally, I find myself in hot water at times as well, trying to grapple with something new. So, the food industry is very vast and there's so many different elements, and definitely the undergraduate course, taught me that. But then this program, I suppose, has led me to fine tune where my interest definitely lies too.
Brilliant. So you're building on the foundation there already. Fantastic.
Yeah.
And then can you transport yourself back to your third year placement? Can you tell us what your experience of that was like?
Yeah, so I know you mentioned earlier on, Sean, like, that you might by third year know what areas you might like to go into. But for me, I definitely had never been in a food manufacturing, facility, and having to don all that kind of high care, low care PPE gear was definitely an experience for me personally. But like Emer had mentioned, like it's such a good opportunity to experience kind of all of the different roles, or even just get to chat with people who are in different roles within the food industry and try and figure out what you might like. So I was fortunate enough to work with Ballymaguire Foods, who are a private label ready meals manufacturer. So, Super Value would be one of their big clients, and they produce quite a lot of the ready meals for them. But equally, some of the other big retailers are there too. So I was lucky enough to spend my placement there, and then I also was retained subsequently after that. So kind of juggled working part-time at that point with kind of balancing my own undergraduate responsibilities as well as a student. So yeah, it was a really fantastic opportunity. And even, for me personally, like getting to meet people who are also in the food industry, hear about their stories, their career paths and their journeys, and their still connections that I have today. So, it's like, as Roisin mentioned, like the support is there both from an academics perspective from the college, but equally, when you do go out in placement, if you're fortunate enough to have a strong placement, which by all accounts everyone on this call has had, they can be a really, really good like pillar and giving you a boost in the food industry in the future.
Yeah, and that's a brilliant point. It's such a great time to shine and to network within the sector.
Yeah,
And
100%.
although, Ireland is one country, the global food sector is such an expanse area. So network is massive in that. And I know that you're all encouraged to open up a LinkedIn account. So that's another way to connect and stay connected as well long after you graduate. Thank you so much for that, Claire. I think we're doing well on time. Now, I do notice a couple of questions have come in on the chat. So, Roisin, I might fire a couple out at you before we wrap up. So one of the questions came in, what is the balance like between the food modules and the business modules? So is it one more over another, or is it fairly well balanced?
So the balance is pretty much a third food studies, a third nutrition, and a third business management. That's kind of how it's split up across all 4 years of the program, to be honest. There is a nice balance and blend of all those three key areas.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Great. And then another question, I don't study business in Leaving Cert. Will I be at a disadvantage?
No, I wouldn't say that at all. We would have, lots of students down through the years who haven't studied business studies previously, and absolutely not. It's just like I was saying about the science modules, we pick everything up from year one at the very beginning, so that nobody is left behind, and we try to bring everybody from the start, from a very basic introductory level, so not anything to be put off by.
Yeah, you build on that foundation from there. And then the final question then, can I go on Erasmus? And you did mention this at the start, and I do know that our ATU global colleagues are there for this very reason, to give our students an opportunity, an international opportunity, whether that's study placement or study visit. So I've kind of answered that, but if you want to add anything more to that, Roisin.
Yeah, I can do. I know we have 3 students looking at Erasmus for placement next year in year 3. And our Erasmus office through ATU Sligo are assisting the students in helping them to find a suitable placements abroad. So it is definitely an option. And yeah, students have done this in the past, and it can be a great experience to carry out placement in another country.
Of course, and there's that funding available as well for the students to settle them into their host country.
Yeah.
That is all fantastic. We are just about gone over time. So that, a lot of great insights there. My thanks to Roisin, Helen, Emer, Sinead and Claire for joining us this evening, and to our guests who have logged in, and to our viewers who will watch the playback. We hope this has helped in some way as you consider your CAO options in this particular area of study. So as I said, the webinar will be available to watch back, and we'll post the links on our social media channels in the next day or two. In the meantime, please do consider joining ATU St. Angela's and indeed ATU Sligo at our open day, which is coming up this Saturday on the 10th of May from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. So you can check out more details on atu.ie/open days. And so we might leave a registration link in the Q&A section as well before we log off. So my sincere thanks again to our panel and to everyone who's joined us this evening, and have a great rest of the evening. Thanks. Bye-bye.